There is something radiating from you right now that you have never fully seen. Not a feeling, not a mood, not a personality trait you inherited or a quality someone else assigned to you. Something measurable, something real, something that has been active every single moment of your life, broadcasting, transmitting, shaping what reaches you and what cannot. And you have been doing it entirely without knowing. 5 laws govern your personal energy field. 5 specific principles that ancient civilizations encoded into stone, that philosophers spent entire lifetimes trying to articulate, that mystics transmitted in whispers through lineages stretching back thousands of years. 5 laws that quantum physics is now, in this century, in these decades, beginning to measure, to document, to prove. 5 laws that were not hidden from you by accident. 5 laws that were kept from the general conversation deliberately, carefully, and consistently, because a person who understands how their own energy field works does not stay small, does not stay compliant, does not stay unconscious. And systems built on unconscious people have no interest in waking them up. But they are not hidden from you anymore. Not today. Not in this transmission. And here is what strikes me most deeply about all of it. These 5 laws are not abstract. They are not out there somewhere in the universe, operating on galaxies and distant forces. They are operating right now in your aura, in the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, in the frequency your nervous system is broadcasting at this precise moment, in the signal your body is radiating into the quantum field that surrounds you, interpenetrates you, and responds to you with a faithfulness that would astonish you if you could see it clearly. You have been demonstrating these laws your entire life. Your aura has been living them. Reality has been responding to them. And the only thing that has ever been missing is the moment you become conscious of what you are already doing. That moment is now. By the time we reach the end of this transmission together, you will not just understand 5 laws. You will feel them operating in your own field. You will recognize them in patterns you thought were random. You will see, perhaps for the first time with complete clarity, why your reality has assembled itself the way it has, and what changes the instant your broadcast becomes conscious. You will understand why certain people seem to move through the world with an ease that appears almost unfair. Why certain rooms feel different the moment you enter them. Why certain conversations leave you expanded and others leave you contracted Why certain seasons of your life felt like everything was flowing, and others felt like you were pushing against an invisible wall. All of it will make sense, because all of it has a mechanism, and the mechanism is your aura. This is not motivation. This is not philosophy for the sake of philosophy. This is not a collection of nice ideas to comfort you before you return to the same patterns. This is the operating code of your personal energy field, revealed, illuminated, and activated. This is the transmission that changes the relationship you have with your own signal, from unconscious to conscious, from automatic to deliberate, from dimmed to radiant. Let's begin. Stop for a moment. Genuinely stop. Let whatever else was running in your mind go quiet for just a breath. Let the noise of the day, the pull of the to-do list, the background hum of everything that was competing for your attention before this moment, let all of it soften for just a few seconds. Now feel this. Right now, in this moment, your heart is generating an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your body in every direction. This is not metaphor. This is not poetry. This is not a spiritual belief you have to adopt or a concept you have to take on faith. The Heart Math Institute has measured this field using standard electromagnetic detection equipment. Your heart's electrical field is approximately 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity of your brain. Its magnetic field is roughly 100 times stronger than the brain's magnetic field, and it radiates outward from your body, carrying information, real, encoded, quantum-level information about your internal state. That field is your aura, not a mystical concept, not a spiritual belief you have to adopt. A measurable, real, electromagnetic signature that broadcasts who you actually are, not who you perform yourself to be, not who you think you should be, not who you are trying to convince yourself or others that you are, but who you are at the level of frequency. To every person, every environment, and every quantum probability field you enter. And here is what most people never learn. That field is not passive. It is not just radiating outward, like a lamp illuminating a room. It is also selecting. It is interacting with the quantum field around you in a way that influences which possibilities collapse into your experience and which ones remain uncollapsed, unreached, outside the range of what your life can receive. Your aura is not just a broadcast. It is a tuner. It is a filter. It is a quantum creative instrument that has been operating at full power every moment of your existence, shaping the texture of your reality with a precision that would take your breath away if you could see it. What you radiate, reality assembles around. This is not a nice idea. This is not a motivational phrase designed to make you feel better about your circumstances. This is the quantum mechanical reality of how your personal energy field works. And once you understand it, once you feel it as a lived truth rather than an interesting concept, the way you move through the world will never be quite the same. Now let me show you the 5 laws that govern all of it. Because once you see them, once you feel them operating in your own field, nothing about how you carry yourself through the world will ever be quite the same. The first law is the law of correspondence. As within, so without. As above, so below. These words are ancient. They appear in texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary figure who blends the Greek god Hermes with the Egyptian god Thoth, the keeper of divine knowledge in 2 of the oldest civilizations humanity has ever produced. The principle of correspondence is the second of the 7 Hermetic principles compiled in the Kybalion, a text published in 1908 that drew from Hermetic traditions stretching back thousands of years. These words have survived empires, survived the burning of libraries, survived the systematic erasure of entire knowledge traditions, because they describe something so fundamental to the structure of reality that they cannot be fully suppressed. They keep resurfacing. They keep finding their way back into human awareness, because reality keeps demonstrating them, whether we have the language for them or not. But I want you to hear this principle not as a philosophical idea. I want you to feel it as a description of what your aura is doing right now. Your external world, your relationships, your finances, your health, the quality of what shows up in your daily experience, the texture of how life feels to you in ordinary moments, is not random. It is not the product of luck or fate or circumstances beyond your control. It is not punishment. It is not reward. It is a correspondence, a reflection, a mirror that the quantum field holds up to your internal broadcast. The outer world is not doing something to you. The outer world is showing you what you are radiating, what you carry inside at the level of frequency, your dominant emotional states, your deepest beliefs about yourself and about what is possible for you, the signal your nervous system has been running as its default setting. The stories your body has been telling about who you are and what you deserve. That is what your aura has been broadcasting. And the quantum field, which does not distinguish between what you want and what you are vibrating, which cannot read your wishes, but can read your signal with extraordinary precision, simply assembles reality around the broadcast it receives. Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in the history of psychology, developed the concept of psychological projection. He observed through decades of clinical work that human beings project onto their external world what they have not yet recognized within themselves. If you carry unresolved fear, you will perceive threat in neutral situations. If you carry a deep belief in scarcity, you will find evidence of lack everywhere you look. In situations where someone with a different internal broadcast would find evidence of abundance. If you carry a wound around unworthiness, you will unconsciously arrange your life to confirm that you are not enough. You will choose relationships that confirm it, interpret ambiguous situations as confirming it, and filter out evidence to the contrary with a thoroughness that feels like objectivity, but is actually the law of correspondence in perfect operation. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is not a character flaw or a spiritual deficiency. This is the law of correspondence doing exactly what it does. Faithfully, precisely, without judgment and without mercy. Your aura does not broadcast what you consciously wish for. It broadcasts what you actually believe, what you actually feel at the deepest level of your nervous system's conditioning. And reality obligingly corresponds. Neuroscience has documented this with remarkable precision through the mechanism of confirmation bias. Your brain does not process reality neutrally. It filters, it selects, and the selection criterion is what you already believe to be true. If your internal broadcast carries the frequency of danger, your nervous system will scan your environment and highlight everything that confirms danger, while literally filtering out evidence to the contrary. You will remember the one person who looked at you coldly and forget the 10 who looked at you with warmth. You will notice the door that closed and miss the 3 that opened. You will experience a reality that seems to be objectively proving your worst beliefs. Not because those beliefs are accurate, but because your aura is broadcasting them, and your nervous system is selecting for evidence that confirms them. The law of correspondence operates simultaneously at the quantum level through your electromagnetic field and at the neurological level through the filtering mechanisms of your brain. Both are doing the same thing. Both are assembling a reality that corresponds to your internal broadcast. In a very real sense, you are not experiencing reality. You are experiencing the projection of your own internal frequency onto reality, and your aura is the projector. Now here is where this becomes not just fascinating, but transformative. The law of correspondence works in both directions. If your external world is a mirror of your internal state, then changing your internal state changes what the mirror shows. Not someday, not gradually, over years of slow conditioning. At the level of your electromagnetic field, the change is immediate. The moment your internal frequency shifts, your aura shifts. The moment your aura shifts, what the quantum field can deliver to you shifts. The moment your broadcast changes, the correspondence changes. The mirror shows something different because the signal being projected into it is different. Neville Goddard, a mystic born in Barbados in 1905, who spent his life teaching the mechanics of consciousness and reality creation, said something that I want you to sit with. He said that feeling is the secret, not thought. Feeling. Because feeling is the language of the electromagnetic field. Your heart generates its field in direct response to your emotional state. When you feel, at the level of genuine inner experience, that something is already true, that abundance is already present, that love is already real, that you are already the version of yourself you are becoming. Your aura begins broadcasting that frequency. And the quantum field, which reads your broadcast and not your wishes, begins assembling reality around what you are actually radiating, not around what you are hoping for, not around what you are trying to think your way toward, around what your field is genuinely electromagnetically transmitting. This is the law of correspondence made personal, made operational, made yours. Feel your field right now. What is it corresponding to? What is the internal state that your aura has been broadcasting as its default signal? What has your life been reflecting back to you? This is not a question meant to create shame or judgment. It is an invitation to see clearly, because you cannot consciously redirect a signal you cannot see. And right now, you are seeing it. Perhaps for the first time, with the kind of clarity that makes it not just intellectually interesting, but personally actionable. Your aura knows. And now so do you. Let me tell you about a woman named Mara. Mara was someone who had worked hard her entire life. She was thoughtful, capable, genuinely kind. People who knew her well would describe her as one of the most sincere people they had ever met. And yet, there was a pattern in her experience that she could not seem to escape, no matter what she tried. Opportunities would appear and then dissolve just before they became real. Relationships would begin with warmth and then cool without any single dramatic reason. Projects would gain momentum and then stall in the final stretch. She had tried everything she could think of, working harder, thinking more positively, surrounding herself with the right people, reading every book that promised a different result, attending workshops, changing cities, changing careers, and nothing changed the pattern. What Mara could not see, what no one had ever shown her, was what her aura was broadcasting. Underneath all her effort, underneath all her conscious intention, underneath all the positive thinking she had layered over her experience, like paint over a cracked wall, there was a frequency running, a deep, old signal that had been installed in her nervous system long before she had any choice about it. The signal said, "Things that seem good do not last for me." The signal said, "I have to earn everything, and even then, it might be taken away." The signal said, "The world is generous to others, but not reliably to me." The signal said, "I should not get too comfortable with anything good, because comfort invites loss." She had never chosen these beliefs. They had been given to her by her earliest experiences, by the people who shaped her before she could evaluate what they were teaching, by the environments she had no power to leave, by the moments that had taught her nervous system what to expect from life before her conscious mind had any say in the matter. And she had carried them so long that they felt like facts about reality, rather than a frequency she was broadcasting. They felt like observations about how the world worked, rather than a signal she was transmitting that was causing the world to work that way for her. Mara's aura was not radiating what she wanted. It was radiating what she believed at the deepest level of her nervous system's conditioning. And the quantum field, reading that signal faithfully and without judgment, was assembling a reality that corresponded to it. Opportunities dissolved because her field was broadcasting the expectation of dissolution. Relationships cooled because her field was carrying the frequency of anticipated loss. The pattern was not happening to her. The pattern was being generated by her broadcast. The law of correspondence was not punishing Mara. It was reflecting her perfectly, faithfully, without distortion. The day something shifted for Mara was not the day she tried harder, or thought more positively, or added another layer of paint to the wall. It was the day she sat quietly, and for the first time genuinely felt what it would be like if the pattern were simply not true. If things that were good could stay. If the world could be reliably generous to her. If she did not have to brace for loss every time something beautiful arrived. Not as a wish, not as a hope she was trying to manufacture, not as a positive affirmation she was reciting, but as a felt experience she allowed herself to inhabit, even for a few minutes. A genuine, embodied, electromagnetic experience of a different internal state. Her field responded, not because she had performed a ritual, not because she had convinced her conscious mind of something, but because the electromagnetic signal her heart was generating had shifted. The broadcast had changed, and slowly, then unmistakably, so did what reality assembled around her. The pattern did not reverse overnight, but the quality of what arrived began to be different. The correspondence began to show a different reflection because the signal had changed. The law of correspondence is the first law because it is the foundation. Everything else is built on this. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner broadcast. Change what you radiate, and you change what corresponds to you. This is not wishful thinking. This is quantum mechanics. This is the operating code of your personal energy field. Your light is on. It has always been on. The question has only ever been what frequency it is carrying. Now let's go deeper into your field. The second law is the law of vibration. Nothing in this universe is still. Not the chair you are sitting in. Not the walls of the room around you. Not the body you inhabit. Not the thoughts moving through your mind. Not a single particle of anything that exists anywhere in the known universe is in a state of rest. This is not spiritual language. This is physics. At the atomic and subatomic level, everything that appears solid, fixed, and stable is in constant motion. The atoms that compose your body are vibrating. The electrons within those atoms are moving in patterns of such extraordinary speed that the apparent solidity of physical matter is, at the quantum level, almost entirely empty space threaded through with fields of energy in motion. the desk you rest your hands on, the floor beneath your feet, the air moving through your lungs. All of it is vibrating energy in different configurations, at different frequencies, creating the appearance of different kinds of matter. The Kybalion stated this in 1908 as one of its fundamental Hermetic principles. Everything moves, everything vibrates, everything circulates. The difference between a rock and a ray of light is not a difference of substance. It is a difference of frequency. Both are energy. Both are vibration. The rock vibrates at a frequency so low it appears solid and inert. Light vibrates at a frequency so high it appears to have no mass at all. But both are the same fundamental phenomenon: energy in motion at different rates. This is not ancient mysticism at odds with modern science. This is ancient mysticism in perfect agreement with modern science. The mystics arrived at this understanding through direct inner observation. The physicists arrived at it through measurement and mathematics. They met at the same truth from different directions. Your aura operates on this principle in a way that is both scientifically measurable and personally transformative. The electromagnetic field your heart generates is not a single, flat signal. It is a complex, dynamic, ever-shifting pattern of frequencies. And the primary determinant of those frequencies is your emotional state. Your emotions are not just psychological experiences that happen inside you and stay there. They are electromagnetic events. They are patterns of frequency that your heart field broadcasts into the space around you and into the quantum field that interpenetrates all of physical reality. Every emotion you experience is simultaneously a frequency your aura is transmitting. Joy is a frequency. Grief is a frequency. Love is a frequency. Fear is a frequency. Genuine appreciation is a frequency. Chronic anxiety is a frequency. And the quantum field reads each of these with a precision that no technology we have built can match. This is why you have walked into a room and felt something without anyone saying a word. This is why you have sat next to someone and felt inexplicably calm or inexplicably uneasy without any external explanation for either. You were reading their field. Your aura was receiving their broadcast and translating it into felt experience. This happens constantly, automatically, beneath the level of conscious awareness, because your electromagnetic field is in continuous interaction with every other electromagnetic field in your environment. You are not just perceiving the world through your 5 senses. You are reading it through your aura. And your aura has been reading it accurately your entire life, even when your conscious mind was busy constructing different explanations for what you were feeling. The law of vibration means that you are always broadcasting. You cannot turn your aura off. You cannot choose not to radiate. You cannot take a break from transmitting. The only choice available to you, and it is an enormously powerful choice, perhaps the most powerful choice available to a human being, is what frequency you radiate. If this transmission is resonating with you, if you can feel these laws beginning to activate something in your own field, take a moment to like this video and subscribe so we can keep building this together. Now let's keep going. Dr. David Hawkins, an American psychiatrist who spent decades mapping the relationship between emotional states and what he called levels of consciousness, created something he called the map of consciousness. It is a scale that attempts to quantify the energetic frequency of different emotional and psychological states. At the lower end of the scale are states like shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, and anger. At the higher end are courage, acceptance, love, joy, and peace. Hawkins' specific methodology has been debated in scientific circles, and intellectual honesty requires acknowledging that debate. But the underlying principle that different emotional states carry different energetic frequencies that have measurably different effects on the field around them is consistent with what heart math research has documented about heart rate variability and electromagnetic coherence. Here is what heart math's research shows clearly. When you are in a state of fear, anxiety, or stress, your heart's electromagnetic field becomes incoherent. The pattern of your field becomes jagged, irregular, chaotic. The waves interfere destructively with each other, canceling each other out, producing a signal that is fragmented and weak. And that chaotic field broadcasts a chaotic signal. When you are in a state of genuine appreciation, love, or compassion, your heart's electromagnetic field becomes coherent. The pattern becomes smooth, ordered, rhythmic. The waves align and reinforce each other. And that coherent field broadcasts a clear, powerful, organized signal. Coherence is the key word here. Because a coherent field does something that an incoherent field cannot. A coherent field organizes the quantum probabilities around it. It creates what physicists call constructive interference, where waves of the same frequency amplify each other rather than canceling each other out. A coherent aura is not just more pleasant to be around. It is quantum mechanically more powerful. It has greater influence on what possibilities collapse into experience in its vicinity. It reaches further into the quantum field. It draws from a wider range of potential realities. It assembles effects with a precision and a quality that an incoherent field simply cannot access. This is why people who radiate genuine peace seem to make things happen more easily. This is why people who carry chronic anxiety seem to attract exactly what they fear. This is why some people walk into rooms and the energy shifts, and other people walk into rooms and the energy contracts. This is not mysticism. This is the law of vibration operating through the electromagnetic coherence or incoherence of the personal energy field. The mechanism is real. The effect is measurable. And it is happening in your aura right now. Your aura is always vibrating. The question is whether it is vibrating in coherence or in chaos. And the answer to that question is the answer to why your reality has been assembling itself the way it has. Not as blame, as information, as the most useful, most actionable, most genuinely empowering information you could possibly receive about your own life. Now let me give you a radiance practice, an embodied experience of this law in your own field. Place your hand over your heart, not as a gesture, but as an act of attention, not as a performance, but as a genuine direction of your awareness. Bring your consciousness into the center of your chest. If you have been sitting for a while, take one slow breath in and let it release completely. Let your body soften just slightly. Let the muscles around your jaw and shoulders release just a little. Now, without trying to manufacture anything, without performing a feeling you think you should have, without forcing positivity over whatever is actually present, simply recall something genuine. A moment when you felt real appreciation. It does not have to be dramatic. It does not have to be the greatest moment of your life. It could be the warmth of sunlight on your skin. It could be the face of someone you love. It could be a moment of unexpected beauty, a piece of music that moved you, a view that stopped you in your tracks, a kindness that surprised you, an animal that made you laugh, a meal that was simply perfect. Let that memory become real in your body. Not a thought about appreciation. The actual felt quality of it. Warmth in the chest. Expansion. The slight softening that happens when something genuinely good is present. The quality of aliveness that comes with real gratitude. Let it be physical. Let it be felt. Stay with that for a moment, not performing it, inhabiting it. What you are experiencing is not just an emotion. You are generating a coherent electromagnetic field. Your heart rate variability is shifting toward coherence. The pattern of your aura is organizing itself, smoothing, becoming more ordered and more powerful. The signal your field is broadcasting is becoming clear and strong. This is the law of vibration in direct personal experience. You are not imagining your aura changing. Your aura is changing, measurably, physically, right now, in this moment, in this body. This is your radiance. This is your natural frequency when it is not suppressed by fear or contracted by stress or dimmed by the accumulated weight of unconscious conditioning. This is what you have been capable of broadcasting your entire life. You have simply, for much of it, been unaware that you were choosing. Unaware that the quality of your emotional state was, simultaneously, the quality of your electromagnetic broadcast. Unaware that the frequency you were carrying was the frequency the quantum field was reading and responding to. Now you know. And a conscious broadcast is infinitely more powerful than an unconscious one. Feel your field right now. Notice what is radiating. This is your signal. This is your light. And it is on. And I want to pause here and ask you something. Has there been a moment in your life when you felt your aura shift? When you walked into a room and something in you was simply on, and people responded to you differently, and you could feel your own field radiating in a way that was unmistakable? A moment when your frequency was so clearly elevated that the world around you seemed to reorganize itself to match it? Drop that moment in the comments. I want to hear it, because these experiences are not random. They are your field showing you what it is capable of. They are demonstrations of the law of vibration, your own life. They are proof in your own experience that this is real. The third law is the law of mentalism. This is perhaps the most radical of the 5 laws, the most challenging to the ordinary way we have been taught to understand reality, the most likely to create a moment of genuine disorientation before it creates a moment of genuine liberation, and the most directly relevant to what your aura is doing at the quantum level. The first principle of the Kybalion states it this way: the all is mind. The universe is mental. Before you dismiss this as pure mysticism, before your rational mind reaches for an objection, let me take you somewhere specific. Let me take you to a laboratory. Let me take you to one of the most carefully documented, most rigorously replicated, most profoundly disturbing findings in the history of experimental physics. In 1801, a British physicist named Thomas Young performed what became known as the double-slit experiment. He fired light through two parallel slits and observed that it created an interference pattern on the screen behind, the overlapping wave pattern you see when two sets of ripples meet on the surface of water. This demonstrated that light behaves as a wave. Clean, clear, unambiguous. Light is a wave. When this experiment was replicated at the quantum scale in the 20th century, firing individual electrons rather than continuous light, something happened that shook the foundations of classical physics. When electrons were fired toward the two slits with no detection equipment measuring which slit they passed through, they behaved like waves. They created an interference pattern, as if each individual electron had somehow passed through both slits simultaneously, as if each electron existed in a state of superposition, a state of multiple simultaneous possibilities, until it reached the screen and was forced into a single location. But when scientists placed a detector at the slits to observe which slit each electron actually passed through, the behavior changed completely. The electrons began behaving like particles. They passed through one slit or the other. The interference pattern disappeared. The superposition collapsed. The multiple possibilities became a single actuality. The act of observation collapsed the wave function. The presence of a measuring consciousness changed the behavior of matter. This is not a marginal finding. This is not a fringe result from a questionable experiment. This is one of the most replicated and confirmed results in the history of experimental physics. And its implication is one that mainstream science has been grappling with, debating, and in many cases, quietly accepting for nearly a century. At the quantum level, the observer is not separate from what is observed. Consciousness participates in the collapse of quantum probability into physical reality. The act of looking changes what is there. The presence of awareness changes what manifests. The Upanishads, the ancient Vedic texts of India written around 800 BC, called this principle by a different name. They described the material world as Maya, not false in the sense of non-existent, but not what it appears to be. Not the fundamental reality, but a projection, an effect, a layer of appearance arising from something deeper. And that something deeper, they said, is consciousness itself, pure, undivided, aware. The ground from which all apparent reality emerges. Plato, writing in approximately 380 BC, in the 7th book of the Republic, described the allegory of the cave. Prisoners chained in a cave since birth, able to see only shadows cast on the wall in front of them by objects passing behind them, lit by a fire. For these prisoners, the shadows are reality. They name them, categorize them, argue about them, build their entire understanding of the world around them. They become experts in shadows. Then, one prisoner breaks free, emerges from the cave, and sees the sun, and understands that everything he knew was a limited, distorted, incomplete projection of a deeper reality. Plato was not making a pleasant metaphor for intellectual enlightenment. He was not writing a story about the value of education. He was describing the structure of consciousness and reality. The shadows are the physical world as we perceive it through our senses. The sun is the source, the deeper reality from which the physical world is projected. And the prisoner who escapes is the consciousness that has become aware of its own nature. The consciousness that has recognized itself as the observer, not just the observed. What does this have to do with your aura? Everything. Because if consciousness participates in the collapse of quantum probability into physical reality, if the act of observation is not passive but active, not separate but participatory, then your aura, as the electromagnetic broadcast of your consciousness, is not just a byproduct of your internal state. It is a creative instrument. It is participating at the quantum level in determining which possibilities collapse into your experience and which remain in the uncollapsed field of potential, unreachable by your current broadcast. Your field is not just radiating. It is selecting. It is interacting with the quantum probability field around you and influencing through the mechanism of coherence and resonance, which potentials become actual in your life. Every moment of every day, the quantum field around you contains an infinite range of possible experiences. Your aura, the electromagnetic broadcast of your consciousness, determines which of those possibilities your life can reach. Which doors exist for you? Which people find their way to you? Which opportunities collapse into your experience, and which pass by uncollapsed, invisible to your current frequency. This is the law of mentalism made personal. Your consciousness, the quality of awareness you bring to your own field, the degree to which you are a conscious observer of your own broadcast rather than an unconscious one, is a quantum creative force, not a metaphorical creative force, not a philosophical creative force, a literal, measurable, quantum mechanical creative force. The moment you become conscious of your signal, the signal changes, because consciousness itself is a different quality of energy than unconscious reactivity. A conscious broadcast carries coherence that an unconscious one cannot. And coherence, as we have seen, is the mechanism of quantum creative power. You don't need to become radiant. You need to become conscious of the radiance that is already there. Because the moment you see your own light clearly, it intensifies. Not because you added something from outside yourself, not because you performed a technique or adopted a belief, but because consciousness itself amplifies what it illuminates. Awareness is not passive, it is generative. And when you bring genuine awareness to your own electromagnetic field, the field responds. This is why the moment of genuine awakening, the moment someone truly sees their own field clearly, perhaps for the first time, often produces rapid, unmistakable changes in their external reality. Not because they performed better, or tried harder, or finally found the right strategy, but because their broadcast became conscious. And a conscious broadcast is quantum mechanically different from an unconscious one. It carries a different quality of coherence. It reaches into a different range of quantum possibilities. It assembles a different quality of reality. You are that observer. You are the consciousness that collapses quantum probability into experience. And your aura is the instrument through which that collapse is broadcast into the world. Feel the weight of that. Feel the power of it. Not as pressure, as possibility. Not as responsibility in the sense of burden, as responsibility in the sense of responsibility. The ability to respond. The ability to choose. The ability to direct your own quantum creative instrument consciously rather than leaving it on autopilot. Your light is on. It has always been on. Now you are conscious of it. And that changes everything. Let me tell you about a man named Elias. Elias had spent most of his adult life feeling as though reality was something that happened to him, rather than something he participated in creating. He was not passive by nature. He was actually quite driven, quite thoughtful, quite willing to work. He had built a life that looked functional from the outside, but there was a quality to his relationship with his own life that he could never quite name. A sense of being slightly outside it. A feeling of watching his own experience from a step removed, as though the real living were happening somewhere just beyond his reach, as though there were a version of his life that was fully inhabited and alive, and he was living a slightly dimmer copy of it. He had read books. He had tried practices. He had, in his more honest moments, wondered if there was something fundamentally different about him, some quality that other people had that he lacked, some access to his own life that he simply could not find. What Elias did not know was that he was living in a state of quantum disconnection, not from reality, from himself as the observer of reality. His consciousness was running on a kind of automatic pilot that had been set by years of conditioning, years of being taught that the world was something you navigated rather than something you co-created, years of being rewarded for competence and compliance and penalized for the kind of radical inner aliveness that the law of mentalism requires. His aura was broadcasting, as it always does, but it was broadcasting the frequency of separation, the signal that said, I am watching this. I am not in this. Things happen out there, and I respond. I am an effect, not a cause. And the quantum field, reading that signal, assembled a reality that corresponded to it, a life that felt like it was happening to him, because that was the frequency he was radiating, not because he was broken, not because he was less than, but because the law of correspondence is faithful. It mirrors what it receives. And what it was receiving from Elias was the frequency of a consciousness that had forgotten its own creative power. The shift for Elias came not through a dramatic event, but through a single moment of genuine recognition. He was sitting quietly one evening, not doing anything in particular, when he felt, not thought, felt, that his awareness itself was not passive, that the quality of attention he brought to his own life was not neutral, that he was not a spectator in a theater watching a play he had not written. He was the consciousness through which the play was collapsing from possibility into experience. He was the observer whose presence changed what was observed. He was, in the most literal quantum mechanical sense, a creative force. It was not a complicated insight, but it was a real one. And the moment it landed in his body, not as a thought, but as a felt recognition, not as information, but as activation, his field shifted. The quality of his broadcast changed. The frequency of separation gave way to the frequency of participation. And slowly, then unmistakably, his experience of reality began to feel different. Not because the external circumstances had immediately transformed, but because he was no longer outside his own life. He was in it, consciously, radiantly. As the quantum observer, his consciousness had always been capable of being. The law of mentalism is not telling you that you imagined everything into existence. It is not asking you to deny the reality of difficult circumstances, or to pretend that your thoughts alone control what happens in the physical world. It is telling you something more precise and more powerful than that. It is telling you that your consciousness is not separate from the reality it perceives, that your awareness, your attention, the quality of presence you bring to your own field is a creative force, and your aura is the medium through which that force operates in the quantum field. Become conscious of your signal. Become the observer of your own broadcast. Because the moment you do, the quantum field responds to a different quality of presence. And what assembles around you begins to reflect the consciousness of someone who knows they are radiating, rather than someone who has forgotten. This is the third law, and your field is already responding to it. Now let's go to the fourth law, and this one is going to land differently than the others, because this one is about where you are right now. Not where you want to be, not where you have been. Right now. And what is available to you from exactly this position? The fourth law is the law of polarity. Everything has an opposite. Everything exists on a spectrum between two poles, hot and cold, light and dark, love and fear, expansion and contraction, abundance and scarcity, connection and isolation, courage and terror, clarity and confusion, and the crucial understanding that the Hermetic tradition embedded in this principle, the understanding that separates it from the ordinary observation that opposites exist, is this: the poles are not different things. They are different degrees of the same thing. Hot and cold are not opposites in the sense of being fundamentally different phenomena. They are degrees on the spectrum of temperature. Light and dark are degrees on the spectrum of luminosity. Love and fear in their deepest structure are degrees on the spectrum of connection. Love being the fullest expression of connection. Fear being the experience of separation from it. They are not different in kind. They are different in degree. They are different points on the same continuum. Why does this matter for your aura? Because most people experience their emotional and energetic life as a series of opposites that feel like completely different realities. When they are in fear, love feels not just absent, but inconceivable. When they are in contraction, expansion feels not just distant, but impossible. When their aura is broadcasting a low-frequency signal, the high-frequency state they want to inhabit seems to be on the other side of a wall they cannot find a door through. It feels like a different universe. It feels like something available to other people, but not to them, not right now, not from where they are. The law of polarity reveals that there is no wall. There is a spectrum, and you are always somewhere on it, which means movement is always possible. Not a leap from one opposite to another, but a shift along a continuum that you are already on. Not a transformation that requires you to become a different person, but a movement that requires only that you take one step further along the spectrum you are already inhabiting. Your aura does not need to jump from fear to love in a single dramatic shift. It needs to move from fear toward courage, from courage toward acceptance, from acceptance toward genuine appreciation, from appreciation toward love. Each shift is a movement along the same spectrum, not a crossing into a different universe. And each shift changes your broadcast. Each shift changes what the quantum field assembles around you. Each small movement along the continuum produces a corresponding shift in what reality can deliver to your experience. This is why the practice of gratitude is not just psychologically beneficial. It is energetically strategic. When you find genuine appreciation in a moment of fear or scarcity, you are not pretending the fear isn't there. You are not performing positivity over a difficult reality. You are moving along the spectrum. You are shifting your frequency not by denying where you are, but by finding what is also true, what is also present, that vibrates at a higher point on the same continuum. And your aura responds to that movement in real time. The heart math research on heart coherence shows that even brief, genuine moments of appreciation create measurable shifts in the electromagnetic field of the heart. Not sustained effort, not years of practice, not dramatic spiritual experiences. brief, genuine moments, because your field is always responsive to the frequency you actually inhabit, even for a moment. Even a few seconds of genuine appreciation shifts your electromagnetic coherence. And that shift, however brief, is a movement along the spectrum. And movement along the spectrum is available to you right now, from wherever you are. The law of polarity also carries a profound gift for how you understand the difficult experiences in your life, not just the current ones, the historical ones, the ones that have shaped your nervous system's default settings, the ones that installed the frequencies your aura has been broadcasting unconsciously. If everything exists on a spectrum between two poles, then every experience of darkness is on the same continuum as light. Every experience of contraction is on the same continuum as expansion. Every experience of fear is on the same continuum as love. And this means that the difficult experiences, the ones that have contracted your field, dimmed your light, dropped your frequency, installed the unconscious broadcasts that the law of correspondence has been faithfully mirroring back to you, are not evidence that you are fundamentally broken or fundamentally different from the radiant version of yourself you sense is possible. They are evidence that you are somewhere on a spectrum. That movement is available, that the light you are moving toward is the same light you are made of, just more fully expressed. You have never stopped being radiant. You have moved along the spectrum toward contraction, and the spectrum runs in both directions, always. The direction toward greater light is always available. It does not require you to have never contracted. It does not require you to be someone who has never been afraid or wounded or dimmed. It requires only that you recognize where you are on the continuum and take one step toward the light that is already at the other end of the spectrum you are already on. This is one of the most quietly revolutionary things you can know about your own energy field. The darkness you have experienced is not the absence of your light. It is your light at a lower point on its own spectrum. And that means it has always been available to move. It means you have never been as far from your own radiance as it felt. It means the distance between where you are and where you want to be is not a gulf between different realities, but a walk along a continuum that you are already standing on. Feel your field right now. Wherever you are on the spectrum in this moment, whatever the quality of your broadcast right now, know that you are not stuck there. You are on a continuum. and you have the capacity right now to move. Here is a practice for the law of polarity. Think of something in your life that has felt like a fixed wall, a limitation, a pattern, a quality of experience that has felt not like a point on a spectrum, but like a permanent condition. Something that has felt not like where you are, but like what you are. Hold it in your awareness for a moment, without judgment, without trying to fix it, or change it, or explain it away. Just see it clearly. Now ask yourself, what is the opposite pole of this experience? Not what you wish were true, not what you are hoping for. What is the genuine opposite of what you are experiencing? If you are experiencing scarcity, the opposite pole is abundance. If you are experiencing isolation, the opposite pole is deep connection. If you are experiencing stagnation, the opposite pole is flow. If you are experiencing invisibility, the opposite pole is being fully seen and received. Name the opposite pole clearly. Feel it as a real energetic state that exists on the same spectrum as where you are. It is not somewhere else in a different universe. It is further along the same continuum you are already on. Now find one thing, just one, in your current experience that is even slightly closer to that opposite pole. One thing that carries even a small quality of abundance, or connection, or flow, or being seen. It does not have to be dramatic. It does not have to be the full expression of the opposite pole. It just has to be real. A genuine, honest recognition of something in your actual current experience that carries even a trace of the frequency you are moving toward. Put your attention there. Let your field feel it. Let your aura broadcast it, even briefly. Let your heart generate even a moment of coherence around it. That is movement along the spectrum. That is the law of polarity, working through your conscious direction of your own field. That is your light, moving toward its own fuller expression. And that movement, however small, is real. It is electromagnetic. It is quantum mechanical. And it changes what the field around you can deliver to your experience. Your light is on. It has always been on. And it can always move toward its own greater brightness. The fifth law is the law of cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Every effect has a cause. Every cause produces an effect. This is perhaps the most intellectually familiar of the 5 laws. It resonates with basic Newtonian physics, with common sense, with the ordinary understanding that actions have consequences. But the depth of this law, as it applies to your personal energy field, goes far beyond the mechanical cause and effect of the physical world. It goes to the root of why your life has been the way it has been. And it reveals, with a clarity that is simultaneously humbling and extraordinarily empowering, where the real lever of change actually is. The Hermetic principle of cause and effect states that chance is merely a name for law, not recognized. That what appears to be random is simply causality, operating through mechanisms we have not yet learned to see. And in the context of your aura, this means something specific and powerful. Your energy field is a cause, not a passive byproduct of your circumstances, but an active causal force in the quantum field around you. What you radiate causes effects, not eventually, not metaphorically, but physically, electromagnetically, quantum mechanically. Your broadcast is a cause, and what reality assembles around you is its effect. This is simultaneously the most empowering and the most sobering of the 5 laws, because it means that the patterns in your life, the ones that have repeated, the ones that have felt like they were happening to you, the ones you have tried to escape and found yourself back inside, the ones that have made you wonder if you are somehow cursed, or fundamentally unlucky, or simply not the kind of person things work out for, are effects. And you are their cause. Not through your conscious intentions, through your actual broadcast, through the frequency your aura has been radiating as its default signal, through the electromagnetic transmission your heart field has been sending into the quantum field, day after day, year after year, with a consistency that the universe has been reading faithfully and responding to without fail. But here is the empowerment in this law. If you are the cause, you can change the effect. Not by changing the external circumstances first, not by waiting for the world to give you something different to respond to, by changing the cause first, by changing what your field is broadcasting. Because the quantum field does not care about your history. It does not carry the memory of your previous broadcasts into its response to your current one. It does not hold a record of your past frequencies and factor them into what it can deliver to you now. It reads what you are radiating now, and it assembles effects around that. This means that your past does not determine your future. Your current broadcast determines your future, and your current broadcast is something you can choose right now, in this body, in this moment. regardless of what the broadcast has been before. This is why genuine personal transformation, the kind that produces real, lasting changes in external reality, does not come from trying harder in the world. It does not come from better strategy or more discipline or finding the right circumstances. It comes from changing the signal at the source, from becoming conscious of your broadcast and choosing deliberately and consistently to radiate at a frequency that corresponds to the reality you are genuinely choosing. The ancient Vedic tradition had a word for this, karma, which in its original meaning was not the popular conception of cosmic punishment and reward, not a system of divine bookkeeping that tracks your good deeds and your bad ones and delivers corresponding consequences. Karma simply means action, specifically the understanding that every action generates a corresponding consequence, and that the cycle of cause and effect continues until it is consciously interrupted. The interruption of karma in the Vedic understanding comes not from performing better actions in the world, but from the transformation of consciousness itself, from the shift from unconscious reactivity to conscious presence, from the shift from automatic broadcasting to deliberate radiance, from the moment when you stop being an unconscious effect of previous causes and begin being a conscious cause of new effects. This is what you are doing right now. By becoming conscious of your signal, by understanding the laws that govern your field, you are interrupting the automatic cycle of cause and effect that has been running in your aura. You are stepping into the position of conscious cause rather than unconscious effect. You are becoming the deliberate broadcaster rather than the automatic one. And when you occupy that position, when your aura is radiating a conscious, coherent, deliberately chosen frequency, the effects that assemble around you are of a completely different quality than the effects of an unconscious broadcast. This is the fifth law, and it is the one that makes all the others actionable. Because understanding the law of correspondence without the law of cause and effect leaves you with a mirror, but no mechanism for changing the reflection. Understanding the law of vibration without the law of cause and effect gives you a frequency, but no understanding of why it matters. The law of cause and effect ties everything together. It says, your field is the cause. Reality is the effect. Change the cause, and the effect must change. This is not philosophy. This is quantum mechanics. This is the operating code of your personal energy field, and it is operating in your aura, right now. Now let me take you somewhere deeper, because we have covered the 5 laws as principles. And now I want to show you how they operate together as a single, unified system in your aura. Because these 5 laws are not separate. They are not 5 different tools you pick up and put down in different situations. They are 5 aspects of one coherent truth about the nature of your personal energy field. 5 windows looking into the same room. 5 descriptions of the same living reality. The law of correspondence tells you that your outer world mirrors your inner broadcast. The law of vibration tells you that your broadcast is a frequency, electromagnetic, measurable, and directly determined by your emotional and psychological state. The law of mentalism tells you that your consciousness is not separate from the reality it perceives, that your awareness participates in the quantum collapse of possibility into experience. The law of polarity tells you that wherever you are on the energetic spectrum, movement is always available, that your light is always on, always capable of moving toward greater brightness, and that the darkness you have experienced is not the absence of your light, but your light at a lower point on its own continuum. And the law of cause and effect tells you that your field is the cause, reality is the effect, and you have the power to change the cause right now, in this moment, regardless of what the cause has been before. Together, these 5 laws describe a single reality. You are a radiant field of quantum energy, broadcasting a signal that the universe reads and responds to by assembling your experience. And the moment that broadcast becomes conscious, the moment you see your own signal clearly and choose to direct it deliberately, everything about what reality delivers to you changes. This is not a new idea. It is the oldest idea. It was encoded into the architecture of the pyramids, whose proportions reflect the principle of correspondence between the cosmic and the personal, between the above and the below, between the inner and the outer. It was inscribed in the temple at Delphi, "Know thyself," because the ancients understood that self-knowledge was not philosophical luxury, but quantum necessity. You cannot consciously direct a field you cannot see. And the instruction to know thyself was, at its deepest level, an instruction to become conscious of your own broadcast. It was transmitted through the Hermetic lineage that stretches from ancient Egypt through Greek philosophy, through the Renaissance alchemists, through the mystics of every tradition who kept these principles alive through centuries, when the dominant culture had no interest in people knowing them, because a person who understands these laws does not function on autopilot. A person who understands these laws does not stay small. A person who understands these laws cannot be convinced that they are a passive effect of circumstances beyond their control. And systems that depend on unconscious people have no interest in waking them up. But you are awake now, or becoming so. And that changes everything. Let me give you the deepest radiance practice of this entire transmission. This is not a visualization. This is not a technique. This is not a performance of something you think spiritual people do. This is an activation, an invitation for your field to become fully, consciously, deliberately radiant in a way that integrates all 5 laws simultaneously. Find a comfortable position. Let your body settle. Let your weight drop fully into whatever is supporting you. Place one hand over your heart and let your awareness rest there. Not in your head, not in your thoughts, not in the running commentary of your analytical mind, but in the electromagnetic center of your chest, where your heart is generating its field right now. Take one slow breath in. Let it release completely. Let the exhale be a genuine release, not just a physical one. Let whatever you have been carrying in your field for the last hour, the last day, the last year, let it soften just slightly on the exhale. Now, without effort, without performance, simply acknowledge what is true. Your heart is generating an electromagnetic field right now. That field extends several feet beyond your body in every direction. It is carrying information about who you actually are at the level of frequency. It is broadcasting that information to the quantum field around you. This is happening right now. It has been happening every moment of your life. You have never not been radiating. You have never not been transmitting. You have never not been a quantum creative force in the field of your own reality. Feel that, not as an idea, as a physical reality, as something you can actually sense in the warmth of your chest, in the quality of aliveness in your body, in the subtle sense of something extending beyond your skin in every direction. You are radiating right now. You cannot stop. The only question is what you are radiating. Now bring to mind the version of yourself who is fully conscious of this. Who knows they are broadcasting? Who has chosen, deliberately and with full awareness, the frequency they are radiating? Who carries in their field not the accumulated weight of unconscious conditioning, but the clear, coherent signal of someone who has seen their own light and chosen to let it be what it is, who moves through the world not as an unconscious effect of circumstances, but as a conscious cause of experience, who asks, in every significant moment, what am I radiating right now? And who answers that question by choosing. Feel what that version of you feels like, not as a fantasy about the future, not as something you will become someday when you have done enough work, or healed enough wounds, or earned enough understanding. As a state you can inhabit right now, in this body, in this moment. Because the frequency of conscious radiance is not something you have to earn or develop or become worthy of. It is a state your electromagnetic field is capable of generating right now. Your heart can produce that coherence right now. Your aura can broadcast that signal right now. Let it. Just for this moment. Let your field be what it actually is when it is not contracted by fear, not dimmed by conditioning, not suppressed by the accumulated habit of unconscious broadcasting. Let your light be on, fully, consciously, now. Stay with that for a moment. Feel the quality of it, the warmth, the expansion, the sense of something real and clear and powerful, radiating from your center outward into the field around you. The sense of being genuinely present in your own life. The sense of being the conscious observer of your own broadcast rather than the unconscious one. This is your aura at conscious coherence. This is the signal that the quantum field reads as a cause and assembles remarkable effects around. This is what you have been capable of broadcasting your entire life. And this is what becomes your default frequency when you understand these 5 laws and choose to live by them. Not through willpower, not through constant, effortful maintenance, but through the quantum mechanical reality of what happens when a consciousness consistently occupies a particular frequency. It becomes the default. It becomes the signal. It becomes who you are at the level of your electromagnetic field. Your light is on. It has always been on. Now you know it. Now you are choosing it. And that is the most powerful shift that can happen in a human energy field. Now let me show you something about how these laws operate in the world that most people never learn to see. You have been in the presence of someone whose aura was at high coherence. You may not have had the language for it at the time, but you felt it. there was a quality to being near them that was different from the ordinary. A sense of clarity, of ease, of something expanding in your own chest just from proximity. The conversation felt more real than conversations usually do. The room felt more alive. Your own thinking became clearer. Your own sense of possibility opened. Your own field seemed to find a coherence it had been searching for. You left the interaction feeling more like yourself than you did when you arrived. That was not their personality. That was not their social skill, or their charisma, or their good looks, or their status. That was their electromagnetic field in a state of high coherence, interacting with your electromagnetic field. Research from heart math has shown that when one person's heart field is in a state of high coherence, it can influence the heart rate variability of people in their vicinity, even without touch, even without words, even without any explicit communication. Your aura is not just broadcasting to the quantum field. It is in constant electromagnetic dialogue with the fields of every person around you. You are always affecting others. Others are always affecting you. The exchange is continuous, automatic, and happening at a level far beneath the surface of ordinary social interaction. This is why the quality of your personal energy field is not just a personal matter. It is a relational one, a communal one, a field that radiates at high coherence does not just benefit the person generating it. It creates a field condition in which others' fields can more easily find coherence. It lowers the energetic threshold for the people around you to access their own clarity, their own calm, their own radiance. Your coherence makes coherence more accessible to everyone in your vicinity. Your radiance is not just yours. It is a gift to every field it touches. And this is why the ancient traditions were so insistent on the cultivation of inner light. Not as a private spiritual achievement, not as a personal optimization project, as a contribution to the collective field, as a service to the coherence of the whole. The person who does the work of becoming conscious of their own broadcast, who chooses to radiate at a frequency of genuine love and clarity and power, is not just transforming their own life. They are contributing to the electromagnetic environment that makes it easier for everyone around them to access their own coherence. They are raising the energetic floor of every room they enter, every relationship they inhabit, every community they belong to. You are not radiating in isolation. You are radiating into a field of fields, and your conscious radiance amplifies the possibility of everyone whose field touches yours. This is why community matters in this work. This is why the field of people who are consciously working with these laws, consciously directing their own broadcast, consciously choosing to radiate at the highest frequency they can access. This field has a power that no individual field can generate alone. Coherent fields in proximity create constructive interference. They amplify each other. They produce a combined signal that is greater than the sum of its parts. A room full of people in coherence is not just a pleasant gathering. It is a quantum event. It is a field condition in which possibilities become accessible that would be unreachable by any individual field operating alone. If this transmission is resonating with you, if you can feel these 5 laws operating in your own field, if you can feel the shift that happens when your broadcast becomes conscious, then you are part of this field. You are one of the radiating points in a network of conscious broadcasters whose combined signal is extraordinary. And your presence here, your attention, your willingness to receive this transmission fully and let it land not just in your mind, but in your body and your field, that is a contribution to the collective coherence. It matters. You matter. Your radiance matters. I want to know what is landing for you. I want to know which of these 5 laws is speaking most directly to your current experience. And I want to ask you something specific. Have you ever felt the warmth of your own field activating? A moment when your light was simply on, when you could feel your own radiance as something almost physical, and the world around you responded to it? Tell me about that moment in the comments. Your story is part of the collective signal we are building here. Let it be heard. Now let me give you the integration principle for everything we have covered. The 5 laws are not 5 separate practices. They are not 5 different things to remember and apply in different situations. They are 5 windows into the same truth and the single integration principle that makes all of them operational in your daily life, not as intellectual knowledge, but as living electromagnetic reality, is this: become the conscious observer of your own broadcast. Not once, not in a dedicated practice session, and then forgotten until next time. Continuously, as a living orientation, as the fundamental relationship you have with your own field, as the question that runs beneath everything else you do in a day. What am I radiating right now? This is the question that activates all 5 laws simultaneously, because asking it invokes the law of mentalism. You are the conscious observer, not the unconscious one. Answering it honestly invokes the law of vibration. You are identifying your current frequency, naming it clearly, seeing it without distortion, recognizing the correspondence between that frequency and your current external experience invokes the law of correspondence. You are reading the mirror. Recognizing that you are somewhere on a spectrum and can move invokes the law of polarity. You are seeing not a fixed condition, but a position on a continuum. And choosing to shift your broadcast invokes the law of cause and effect. You are becoming the conscious cause of a new effect. One question. 5 laws. The entire operating system of your personal energy field activated in a single moment of conscious self-observation. What am I radiating right now? Ask it in the morning before you begin your day, before you pick up your phone, before you check your messages, before the day claims you with its demands and its noise. Your aura is setting its broadcast for the hours ahead. What frequency do you want to send into the field? What do you want the quantum field to read from you as you move through your day? Choose it consciously. Set it deliberately. And let your field carry that signal into everything that follows. Ask it in moments of difficulty. When something challenging arrives, when a pattern you thought you had moved past reappears, when the external circumstances seem to be conspiring against you, when the mirror is showing you something you do not want to see. What am I radiating right now? Because the external is always corresponding to the internal. And the moment you identify the frequency you are broadcasting, you have the power to choose differently, not to deny the difficulty, not to perform positivity over a genuine challenge, but to recognize your own signal clearly enough to redirect it. Ask it in moments of unexpected goodness, when something beautiful arrives, when an opportunity appears that you were not expecting, when a connection deepens in a way that surprises you, when life delivers something you had genuinely been hoping for. What am I radiating right now? Because these are the moments when your field is at coherence, and recognizing them teaches your nervous system to return to coherence more easily. These are the moments that show you what your broadcast looks like when it is working. Study them. Remember them. Let them become the reference point your field returns to. Ask it before you enter any significant interaction, before a conversation that matters, before a meeting, before a gathering of people whose fields will interact with yours. What am I radiating right now? because you are always setting the energetic tone of your interactions before a word is spoken. Your field arrives before you do. It broadcasts before you speak. It is already interacting with the fields of the people you are about to encounter before you have said hello. What do you want that pre-verbal electromagnetic introduction to communicate? What am I radiating right now? This question is your quantum instrument. It is the simplest, most powerful, most continuously available practice for living by these 5 laws. It costs nothing. It requires no equipment, no special circumstances, no particular time of day. It can be done in any moment, in any circumstance, without anyone around you knowing you are doing it. It is invisible to everyone except the quantum field, which reads it with perfect accuracy and responds accordingly. And over time, over weeks and months of consistently asking this question and consistently choosing moment by moment to direct your broadcast toward coherence, your default frequency changes, not because you forced it, not because you maintained a heroic effort of willpower, but because you have been repeatedly and consciously choosing it. And what you choose repeatedly becomes what you radiate automatically. The unconscious broadcast gradually becomes a conscious one. The habitual frequency of fear and contraction gradually gives way to the chosen frequency of love and expansion, not through willpower, through the quantum mechanical reality of what happens when a consciousness consistently occupies a particular frequency. It becomes the default. It becomes the signal. It becomes the aura you carry into every room, every relationship, every moment of your life. Your aura learns. Your field adapts. Your broadcast evolves. And what reality assembles around you evolves with it. This is the integration principle. This is the single thread that ties all 5 laws into a living practice. This is how you go from understanding these laws intellectually to living them electromagnetically. This is how the knowledge in your mind becomes the signal in your field, becomes the reality in your life. Ask the question. Feel the answer. Choose the frequency. Radiate consciously. Every day, every moment you remember. Every time the external world seems to be reflecting something you do not choose. Every time you feel the contraction that signals your field has dropped in coherence. Every time you feel the expansion that signals your field is at its natural radiance. Every time you walk into a room and feel the quality of your own broadcast as something almost tangible. Every time you recognize the law of correspondence showing you clearly what you have been radiating. What am I radiating right now? And now, let me bring this home. You came to this transmission carrying something. Maybe a sense that there was more to understand about why your life has been the way it has been. Maybe a feeling that the patterns repeating in your experience were not random, but you could not quite see the mechanism behind them. Maybe a deep, quiet knowing that you were radiating something your whole life, and that if you could just see it clearly, you could choose it deliberately. Maybe a sense that you were meant to receive something specific today, something that would shift the relationship you have with your own field from unconscious to conscious, from automatic to deliberate, from dimmed to radiant. That knowing was correct. That sense was accurate. You were right to follow it here. Your aura has been broadcasting your whole life. The patterns in your experience have not been random. The mechanism behind them is real, measurable, and now visible to you. The 5 laws that govern your personal energy field are not abstract philosophy. They are the operating code of your electromagnetic reality. They are the quantum mechanical principles that have been shaping your experience every moment of your existence. And now you can see them. Now you can feel them operating in your own field. Now you can choose to live by them consciously rather than demonstrate them unconsciously. The law of correspondence. Your outer world mirrors your inner broadcast. Change the signal, and the mirror changes. Not someday. Now. The law of vibration. Your aura is always broadcasting a frequency. Coherence is the mechanism of quantum creative power. And you can choose coherence right now, in this body, in this moment. Not as a performance, as a genuine, felt, electromagnetic shift. The law of mentalism. Your consciousness is not separate from the reality it perceives. You are the quantum observer whose presence collapses possibility into experience. And a conscious observer creates a different quality of reality than an unconscious one. Your awareness is not passive. It is generative. It is creative. It is the most powerful instrument you possess. The law of polarity. You are always somewhere on a spectrum. Your light is always on. Movement toward greater brightness is always available. The darkness you have experienced is not the absence of your light. It is your light at a lower point on its own continuum. And it can always move. You can always take one step further along the spectrum toward the radiance that is your natural frequency. The law of cause and effect. Your field is the cause. Reality is the effect. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are not a passive receiver of whatever the world decides to deliver. You are the quantum cause of your experience. And you can change the cause. Right now, by changing what you radiate. These are not laws that were hidden from you to keep you small. They are laws that were kept from the general conversation because the general conversation has not yet caught up to what the mystics always knew and what quantum physics is now confirming. But they are not hidden from you anymore. You have seen them. You have felt them operating in your own field. You have recognized them in the patterns of your own experience. You have, perhaps for the first time, seen the mechanism behind what has always felt like mystery. And that recognition is irreversible. You cannot unsee your own signal. You cannot unknow the mechanics of your own broadcast. You cannot unfeel the quality of your own field when it is at conscious coherence. You cannot return to the unconscious automaticity of a broadcast you now understand. The seeing changes everything. The knowing changes everything. The moment of genuine recognition is itself an activation. You have been glowing your whole life. You have been radiating your whole life. You have been demonstrating these 5 laws your whole life, even without knowing them. Your aura has been doing this work in the dark, broadcasting unconsciously, shaping your experience without your conscious participation, assembling a reality around a signal you did not know you were sending. Now you are participating. Now your broadcast is conscious. Now you are the deliberate radiator of your own frequency rather than the automatic one. Now you are the conscious cause rather than the unconscious effect. Now you are the observer who knows they are observing. The broadcaster who knows they are broadcasting. The quantum creative force who has recognized their own creative power. And a conscious broadcast is infinitely more powerful than an unconscious one. This is not the end of something. This is the beginning of a relationship with your own field that is awake, intentional, and increasingly powerful. The beginning of a daily practice of asking what you are radiating and choosing, moment by moment, to direct your signal toward the frequency of your highest truth. The beginning of a life in which what assembles around you begins to reflect not the accumulated weight of unconscious conditioning, but the deliberate radiance of a conscious field. Your aura is active. Your light is conscious. Your signal is clear. You are a radiant field of quantum energy. And now you know it. Shine. Not because you should, not because someone told you to, not because you are performing radiance for an audience or trying to prove something to yourself or to the world. Shine because that is what you are. Because your heart is generating an electromagnetic field right now that extends beyond your body in every direction. Because your nervous system is broadcasting a frequency that the quantum field reads and responds to with extraordinary faithfulness. Because you are, at the most fundamental level of your physical existence, a radiating being, a transmitting consciousness, a living, breathing, electromagnetic instrument of quantum creative power. You have always been this. You have just, for much of your life, been unaware of it. And unawareness dims the signal, not permanently, not irreversibly, not in a way that leaves any lasting damage to what you are capable of radiating. Just temporarily, just until the moment of seeing, just until the transmission that shows you what you have always been. That temporary dimming is over. Your light is on. It has always been on. And now you know it. And knowing it, you can direct it. And directing it, you can change everything about what reality assembles around you. Not by forcing the world to be different, by radiating the frequency that corresponds to the world you are genuinely choosing, by being the cause of the effects you want to experience, by broadcasting consciously, coherently, deliberately from the electromagnetic center of your own being. This is the moment. This is the transmission. This is the activation. Welcome to your own light. If these 5 laws have landed in you, if you can feel them operating in your field, if you recognize them in the patterns of your experience, if something in you has shifted from reading these words as information to feeling them as recognition, then you are exactly where you are meant to be. This is not coincidence. The quantum field does not deliver transmissions like this to fields that are not ready to receive them. You are here because your field called this in. Because your broadcast, at some level, was already moving toward this frequency. And this is the correspondence. Return to this transmission in a quiet moment, in the stillness of morning, before the day claims you, or before sleep, when your field is most open and receptive. Each time you receive it, the laws land at a deeper layer. The first time in your mind, the second time in your body, the third time in your field, where they become truly operational, where they stop being something you know and become something you are. And if someone comes to mind whose light needs reminding, someone whose field you sense is dimmer than it could be, someone who is demonstrating these laws unconsciously and suffering the effects of an unconscious broadcast, share this with them. That act of sharing is itself a coherent broadcast. It activates their awareness of their own field, creates resonance between your aura and theirs, and contributes to the collective luminosity that grows every time one more consciousness chooses to radiate deliberately. Your aura is active. Your signal is clear. Your light is on. Go radiate. And if you want to go even deeper into what your field is already doing beneath the surface of your awareness, the transmission on your quantum aura already shifting, and how everyone around you can feel it before you even consciously realize it has happened, that one is waiting for you. Your field is already moving in that direction. Let it.